Yo,
We're alive. We're
we
still
are
here.
here. We're not dead. Max, how you living?
It's barely living.
Living the
There's like a Jen Kirkman quote where she's like, JKL, just keep living. And I'm like, that's where I'm
Oh,
at.
I feel that. I
That's
feel
what I'm
that. I
trying.
do.
Yeah.
Hi everybody out on the YouTube verse. As you know, I am Kat. This is Max. He's either to the left or the right of me, or above or below me, depending on how this pans out. You think I have any idea what's going on? You're fucking wrong.
I'll figure it out. Figure it out. It'll be
And
fine.
we gave you a really fun, if not a little long, pilot episode of a YouTube channel called Spooky Sundays about a year ago, and then we
Yeah.
completely disappeared.
Everyone forgot about us except for our memes that we post on our Facebook page.
So we're really sorry about that.
Yeah.
Living in the times of COVID is weird. Um, Juggling adulthood and passion projects is hard. And we learned that creating content is actually like a lot of work, particularly for Max because, as you all know, he is our effects king. And so we were so stoked to give you guys an episode, to give you guys something to show you what we've been working so hard on, that we just wanted to put it out there. And then we realized, wait, we gotta have another one ready? We don't have another one ready.
I got burnt out. Like I did stuff that should have taken a month. I did it in a week. And it was like, we had to get back to love. We had to learn, we had to win the love back of this project. And we have, and we are working on things currently
We
for y'all.
quietly agreed to take some time and just get ourselves centered, get ourselves healthy and happy, and then come back and figure out a schedule and a timeline and a strategy that really works for us. And we found it. So we've got nothing really to announce yet, but we thought it would be really fun just to catch you guys up on what's going on and maybe tell some ghost stories.
Yes, that is the theme of this week. I need to be sure that I'm still fucking recording. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
We're good. We're good.
Yes!
We're good. Everything's good.
Okay.
We're in the clear. I was like, I had this fear for a second. I was like, what if we finish this and it turns out that I wasn't recording the entire time?
That's my fucking fear too. That's why I have the view screen flipped around. I'm just staring at that little red dot.
I'm fully MacGyvered this shit. Yes.
Get a mirror.
Ghost stories.
Wait, Max, get a mirror.
Oh, that's well. No, it's butted up against my monitor, so we can't do that.
Balls.
It's fine. We make it work.
Balls.
That's what we do. We MacGyver this shit, and then we like jank it together, and then it works, and then we're like, yay, cool. Ghost stories.
So I think we both chose internet ghost stories. Is that right?
We did. So I feel like because it was either gonna be between like a scary stories to tell in the dark kind of thing, or like internet ghost stories. And it's really hard because the main ones are like Reddit or like 2 sentence whatever, and it's like that's not enough to fill an episode of listening to us talk to each other and enjoying each other's company. And you're here with us, whether you want it or not. So
I'm pretty sure they're free to leave at any time.
you're here now, and that's what matters.
We hope you'll stay.
We
but,
hope you'll stay. It's hard to know where to look too. But yes, ghost stories,
know.
and I called dibs on a fun little tale called Dear David.
I don't know how I didn't think of it. I don't know how I didn't think.
I'd forgotten about it. So Adam Ellis worked for Buzzfeed for a very long time, and then, weirdly enough, had this weird ghost thing happen, and then left Buzzfeed, and only started doing creepy, weird horror comics. Like, there was one that's like, there's this woman who was a nurse, and I saw her in front of my home. The only way to get rid of her is to tell people about her. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, fuck you! Who needs sleep? It's fine. I'm like, it's because you're possessed by Dear David that you're now trying to curse everybody and make everyone suffer with your art.
I don't think I knew he was doing that.
It's, there's a couple I've seen of his that I'm like, why would you do this to me? It's like 2 a.m. My friend reblogged it on Tumblr, which is still a thing, I guess. And, like, I'm over here like, I'm about to go to bed. I'm gonna have the best night ever. And then it's like, no, you're not gonna do that because now you're scared that if you don't share this, Miss Ramona Nurse Legs is gonna fucking kill you in your sleep and show up in front of your house. I would have to smoke a cigarette. I'm like looking around, like fucking nervous as shit.
Well, I think it was only a matter of time before there became like a late 90s, early 2000s chain letter email
Resurgence.
version of a meme.
Oh, yeah. I hate those, though. It's like the fridge where, like, now that you've read this, it's over. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, well, I'm going to tell everyone because I'm no fool. My mama didn't raise me to be no fool. I don't use Ouija boards, and I make sure to forward every chain letter I get. But yes, so Dear David happened, I think, in, like, what, 2017? And,
I think so.
So it started with this, he, like, I think he'd, like, just moved into an apartment or something. And he started having these weird dreams of this ghost of this dead child that had a dent in his head. And, he took it to, like, this, like, I remember it was, like, a medium or, like, a friend of his or something, but he had a dream of this kid, like, with a dent in his head, sitting in a rocking chair at the foot of his bed, this green rocking chair. So he had another dream after that where a girl came up to him and said, "You've seen Dear David, haven't you?" And she's like, "You can ask him you can ask him 2 questions, but don't ask him a third or he'll kill you."
Why is the baby homicidal?
I don't know, but it gets so much worse. So she's like, so he had another dream where he asked Dear David, because you have to preface every question with Dear David. So he went, "Dear David, how did you die?" And he goes, "An accident in a store." "Dear David, what happened in the store?" "A shelf was pushed on my head." "Who pushed the shelf?" And then David didn't answer, and he realized that he'd asked 3 questions.
No!
And that's when you know you done fucked up. So anyway, after that, weird things started happening in this dude's house, such as his cats at midnight every night going up to his door and just meowing incessantly at his bedroom door as if something was waiting outside.
Ugh.
Hate that.
I hate when my cats
every
meow
night
at fucking anything.
on cue. Oh, I hate when I talk to my cat. I'm like, "Betty, Betty, Betty, Betty," and she fucking looks at something that very clearly isn't there, just stares at it. And I'm like, "Don't do that to me. It's 2 a.m, ho. I know there ain't nothing here. Like, you don't even pay rent. Don't scare me like this. Jesus fuck." But yeah,
Don't even pay rent.
but they're like staring at it like something's on the other side of this fucking door. And of course he opens the door and finds nothing. And so as the story goes on, he's taking these like Polaroids and photographs and stuff, and there's fucking weird shit. Max insert fucking photos here. Like weird like faces appearing in his Polaroids and stuff. And then he starts taking photos in his sleep and sees this little boy crawling towards him with a very obvious dent in its head.
I swear, if you don't put that picture, like the build-up
we
of those
know
pictures,
the one with the 3. Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh
I
god,
fucking
no, that
hate it.
picture. I remember when I saw it for the first time, I was obsessed with the story, and I was reading the latest update in the back room on my break at fucking FYE, and I scroll and I get to that picture, and I remember my fucking blood going cold. Like,
my dad read it and he was like scared to go to the bathroom like at work, and he was like, "I can't do it." And I remember because I do heavy Photoshop. If you don't know, I do it for a living. That's my job. It doesn't look Photoshopped. It could be like a fake doll, for all we know. Like, it could be, but it doesn't look altered. And it's also
funny because... Sorry,
go ahead. It's really difficult to like do like when you increase the exposure, you see a thing. It's really hard to replicate that with the amount of noise and grain that you get in an underexposed image. So
I get you.
I kind of believe it.
It's funny because a lot of people I talk to, that image, they describe that as like the moment that story jumped the shark. Like, they say that picture is the moment that they knew it was fake. And I agree with you. I was like, no, that looked... It was just so different than the type of ghost picture you usually see people faking. It was so specific and like so weirdly visceral that you just... my brain at least didn't go to, "Oh, that's fake." I went to, "What the fuck is that?"
It would be so hard to pull off too. But like then like he had pictures of his like stairwell, and you could see something like right behind like the banister and stuff, and he's like, "I'm freaked out." And then like had a dream where like he was dragged into like a warehouse part of his apartment or something like that. And all this stuff, and like then the actual warehouse closed down for no explicable reason, but the last time he'd been there was a green chair sitting there, and it was filled with like cars like parked and stuff, and it was empty, completely empty.
And just a
and this
chair?
just kept going on, yeah. And then like he started recording, like a sound app that would record whenever like audio would play while he was sleeping, and it recorded 33 separate recordings. hate
Were the
that
cats
much.
locked out?
No, the cats were in his room, like, meowing at the thing, but, like, this is, like, post that, I guess. So he, like,
Oh
left. So he
no.
left the apartment, went to Japan, and found a statue in Japan of a child with a significant dent in its head.
It's an angry Japanese spirit. You're fucked, bro.
And so, like, he starts doing, like, Polaroids and taking photos. Oh, and he, in the hall where he keeps, the cats keep meowing at the door, every time you take a Polaroid of it, it would only develop black in that area. And when he took a Polaroid from inside his room looking out, full light, seeing, like, with his phone or whatever, with the Polaroid, that area beyond the door was just pitch black.
Instant pictures don't lie, dude.
I hate that. I don't like any of it. I don't like that you have to go and I have to like wait and see, and then you see like a face behind. I don't like any of that. I ain't a
No,
fan.
me either.
We don't have time.
I don't
So
have
yeah,
time.
we don't have time for that. I don't have time. I don't have time to shake the Polaroid to find out what the fuck's behind me. But like, yeah, it's like analog, so it's like gonna be more accurate and shit.
But how polite
And then-
of the ghost to like wait until it develops.
Well, also people kept like analyzing the Polaroid, him taking cell phone photos of the Polaroid. Like, do you see that face right above the edge of your Polaroid photo? And sure enough, there's like a dented head like right above his Polaroid that he's showing the audience or whatever. And it's all like very difficult to see. It's all like we kind of talked about this in our cryptids episode, like where it's the idea of something's blurry enough and out of focus, and kind of if we're gonna like not suspend disbelief and be like it's a hoax. Anyway, so yeah, he woke up with a bruise on his arm, which is just fucked.
Ugh.
Which that's when you know, and everyone in the chat and in the comments on Twitter was like, "Mama, he's possessing your ass." Like they're like, "Hun, you're getting possessed," and he's like, "I didn't fight back in the dream, and I don't know how he was strong enough to pull me and stuff." And woke up with a huge bruise on my arm. Went to the warehouse and it was completely empty, except for a single green chair. And I'm like, "Fuck that! I hate
Nope.
that."
Hate that.
Oh yeah, and then the cats would like hover around the door like afterwards, after like 10-15 minutes, and wander off as if nothing happened.
Oh no.
As if he was like wandering them off, because maybe David wasn't in the hall anymore, maybe he was entering Adam. That's what he said. No. Terrible. Yeah, so like, and he kept getting these random phone calls from like some like unknown number and shit too.
Oh shit. Oh right.
Mm-hmm. And then a voice just said, "Hello." The one time he answered, a small voice whispering, "Hello." I'm like, "No, thank you. Hard pass." Yeah, he panicked and like turned on all the lights, which is what you should do. You're not like, "Oh, let me turn all the lights off, fam." And so he started getting like videos on pet cam of like his the green rocking chair rocking on its own and shit. To Dear David walking through his house, and like I think he ended up moving it to a different floor, and it still followed him there. And he opened with that tweet. He opened with a tweet that said, "It's happening again."
So what happened to Dear David? Is the scariest part of this story the fact that we don't fucking know what happened?
Oh, you mean how it ends?
Yeah.
Because it fucking ends with him being like, "Everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay now."
Wait, it did end?
Mm-hmm. It basically ended with him being like, "Everything's fine. Don't worry about me." Smiley face, with none of his usual punctuation or how he like spells things or like enunciates things.
Oh shit.
And then he, right after that, left Buzzfeed and was like, "Their big things are coming, I can tell."
I thought what happened was that he left BuzzFeed and so he didn't have ownership of Dear David anymore.
That might be, but they're doing a movie about it supposedly, and I mean...
Right.
Maybe to, like, one of his fridge horror things to get us all possessed by Dear David.
He's got to tell us about it. That's the curse.
Because he's possessed and he wanted... Like, I'm sure there's some shitty 2000s horror movie that's done that idea, like... we made this movie so that you would be cursed too. Wasn't that fucking they look at describe any fucking horror movie though. Oh, and he apparently had a dream where this like head only attached to his spine was like grinning at him. And he's like, "What happened to you?" And the head just smiles and goes, "It feels great."
That reminds. Did you watch the movie? What the fuck was it called? Overlord?
No, but I read spoilers.
Okay, that head attached to just a spine thing is in that movie, and it is fucked. Like, my friend watched it and was like texting me about it as she was watching it, and her texting me about it made me want to watch it. But she like freaked out and explained it to me in detail, and I still was not prepared when I saw it.
I mean, it's like a whole, it adds a whole meaning to the, like, I wish I didn't have a body, I don't want to be known.
I do not wish to be perceived.
Which is probably why he was like, it feels great, and smiled, because, like, we all want it. Yeah, so that story, when I first read it, like, I mean, I think I read it on the whole Twitter feed.
Yeah, I think I started on the Twitter feed, and then I started going to like the what's that website, like Story Me or something,
Yeah.
where it was all being compiled. That was just easier for me to bookmark and go back to. But goddamn, like everybody was on Dear David for a minute. Like it was all anybody could fucking talk about.
Everyone
And
was
now,
sleuthing
with how
it.
it ended, it's like, are we really chalking it up to being a really, really good viral horror story, or are we really thinking Adam Ellis isn't Adam Ellis anymore?
Right? Yeah. It unnerved me. I will say the doll did, the boy did look kind of doll-like and kind of fake, but, like, there's certain things, like, how do you get your, like, if it's just you living alone, how do you get your cats to meow at your door at a specific time every night? Like, how do you get all this stuff? Like, how do you would need, I mean, I guess you could have had help, but, like, I just suspend disbelief and think he's possessed by a dented headed child. And that's why he scares us in the middle of the night posting shit on fucking Twitter like Miss Ramona Nurselegs. That's not her name, but I'm going with that.
Miss Ramona Nurselegs.
If you don't have her business card, she comes after you, and the only way to get rid of her is to show her business card to someone else, so she'll come to their house, because she was like a nurse who like died in a war. I don't know. I don't remember the specifics. I just know that I texted my friend who posted, and I was like, why the fuck would you do this to me?
That's nuts. I really hope the movie does justice to it. Like,
Oh yeah.
I want that movie to chill me to the bone.
It would be so easy to do it bad. It would be so easy to do it badly.
Am I optimistic? No.
Yeah.
So.
They
am I
did a
gonna see
Slenderman movie. Probably. They did a Slenderman movie.
Oh, don't
And we don't
start
talk
with me
about
on
it.
Slenderman.
We don't talk about that. It was
That
I
was
wanted
a
to watch it.
disaster.
I love the mythos, so I wanted to watch it, but everything I heard was like it's the worst thing you've ever seen in your life and you'll never be able to unsee it, and I was like, you know what, I guess not.
Something possessed me to buy the Blu-ray.
Oh, that's right.
And I bought it, and I watched it, and I was like, and I like Joey King, and I just, like, she could not save that movie. It
Yeah.
was so bad. And you could do such a good Slenderman movie. You could.
They had fucking, wasn't it Javier Botet or whatever doing, so they had fucking, like, leverage on, like, who played the Slenderman and stuff, but they just wasted it.
Yeah. Marble Hornets did it better. We'll just say
Yeah.
that.
That's a
what
fucking
was that
morph
movie?
suit. That's a
Always
morph.
Watching? Is that what they called it?
I think so. There was like a documentary or something about it. Or they did some shit. They did a bunch of shit. I haven't watched a lot of it, but, you know.
Well,
but
because I know they have the YouTube channel that has like a million videos on it. I haven't really watched all of those, but then they did like they got funding to do like a movie, and because that DVD was at FYE.
Just like the word
all this
eyes,
stuff.
like run through like Zalco text and shit, and like all this stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay.
Like the crossed out eyes and shit.
Mm-hmm. The proxies and shit. There's a whole lore about that, but that's for another episode. But yeah, Dear David. That, I remember being scared. My dad even had read it, and the amount of media that we have overlap in is so rare that when he was like, yeah, I can't, like, I'm scared to go to the bathroom at work, I'm scared, like, it freaked me out so bad.
Oh no.
He works the night shift, yeah.
Oh no.
Mhm.
Oh, imagine that poor man just peeing at his desk.
Yeah, right? Adult
Poor
diapers.
man.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a lot. But yeah, I remember that scaring the shit out of me. But then other people started doing similar stuff. I think Dear David was the first, but then there was a lot of like Twitter stuff like, here's what happened to me, and leading you on this almost like an ARG in a way, but like
Yeah, a little bit.
the idea of like a ghost. That's why like whenever you move to a new place, you sage the place, you get a priest to come over, you're like, I know I'm being extra, it's fine. And then you have him like cleanse the place. You don't go in like, I'm gonna leave all this old furniture, this old green rocking chair that some kid is taken up home in. I'm not keeping that in my house. I don't know if he bought it or already had it, but like, anyway, like, you clear out the whole fucking place. any secret. There's also like a secret attic space where they found like an old like a child's shoe up in there and some shit, like a marble. And I'm like, you check for secret crawl spaces in your house before you move in.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Our my brother-in-law and his wife were in a different apartment than ours, and they had an upstairs unit. And in the cabinet above their fridge, there was a fucking trapdoor in the cabinet. And like, I would never be able to sleep. I would never be able to sleep. But on the flip side, my husband and I just moved into a new apartment over the summer, and I didn't sage anything. I just moved all my crystals and devil shit in and decided to wing it.
Yeah, you're over this bitch over here is fucking like, I'm gonna get this crystal that fucks your entire life up. And it's gonna ruin your life and upheave everything you ever thought you knew about yourself. I'm like, we're filming at my place now. That's why we're filming like this. Because I don't want to be near those devil crystals.
Alright, well, you know it killed my ex, right?
Probably, yeah.
It was delivered to me the same day he died. Did I not tell you that?
No, you didn't fucking tell me that. You told me about him passing away. You didn't tell me that the crystal killed him.
He passed in the early morning. I got the news of it about 10 minutes after I got the delivery notification. Yeah, so I had a long talk with my therapist about that.
Write down a list of my worst exes. Get that crystal.
It certainly wasn't what I bought it for.
I was like, because you were emotionally conflicted about it. So if you were like, yes, then it would have been like, oh, I need to get that fucking crystal. But it's probably going to be something I'm emotionally conflicted about.
No, let me just say it right now. I don't ever celebrate anybody's death, not even abusive, manipulative pieces of shit.
That's valid.
We don't celebrate the death of people. We don't celebrate other people's pain and their mourning. All I'm saying is that I bought a crystal that promises great upheaval and change, sometimes sudden and traumatic in your life. And the same day I received it, a very negative person from my past literally died. So...
Upheaval. Did you feel upheaved?
Well, you know, there's something to be said that I wasn't expecting, but there's something to be said about suddenly realizing that you live in a world where your worst nightmare no longer exists.
Yeah.
There's a shift that happens. I'm not saying it's necessarily a positive shift or a good thing, but you kind of go like, the world's a little different now.
Right.
And so it certainly was a change.
Upheaving.
Me.
It was upheaving.
So I would not recommend buying Moldavite unless you're fucking ready.
You can't say shit like that to me though, because you also were like, I don't recommend whatever I say, do not watch Poughkeepsie tapes. And that just made me want to watch it more. So and I regret it.
Don't come crying to me is all I'm saying.
I regretted it. It was the worst decision I ever made. And you were right.
And what did I do? I said I fucking told you so.
You were mad
so how do you want me?
You were mad. You were like, I fucking told you not to. Why would you do this?
I tried to save you.
I was like, I'm sorry. I had to go.
I tried to protect you. You only did it to yourself.
You only did it to yourself. Like the woman with Dear David. She warned him, don't ask 3 questions, and he fucked up, man.
He asked 3 fucking questions.
So, I will say that I just went out to get a soda, and our fucking cat was, like, looking at me, like, cringing as if she, like, heard me tell this story.
Oh.
And I'm like, fuck that noise. No thanks. I'm like, great, I'm in for it tonight. That's fun for me.
You've upset the cats.
Yeah, anyways. Yeah, she's like, you told about Dear David? I'm like, you don't even pay rent. You don't pay rent.
You don't get a say if you don't pay rent.
Like, you don't even pay the Con Ed bill. All right.
So for my ghost story, my internet-based ghost story, I went in a little bit of a different direction. It's going to become very clear to everybody watching that it's been too long since I've been able to be in a drama club production. So strap in, bitches. Thank you to Max, who reminded me of this story's existence. I had read it before, but it had been quite a long time. This is a Twitter tale from an Australian comic book writer by the name of Tom Taylor. He's also a playwright and a screenwriter. He is a New York Times best-selling author, so he's a creative type. So just like with Dear David, we'll keep that in mind as we listen to this story. But this is the story of what Tom Taylor decided to tell Twitter about in March of 2019. So Tom rented a cabin on Airbnb. He went full writer cliche, locking himself out in the wilderness by the ocean to churn out his next movie script. I am going to just move my windows here
I feel like it's the equivalent I feel like it's the equivalent of like, we found a way to replicate dinosaur DNA. I'm like, there's an entire series of movies that tell you why this is a terrible idea.
Yes.
Like,
exactly that. So around 5:30 a.m. on his first night in the cabin, he's awoken by the sound of wind chimes outside. Despite gale force winds blowing all night, he didn't hear any chimes until very, very early in the morning on his first night. So he's not going to be able to get back to sleep, so he peeks through the front window of the cabin and sees where the chimes are on the porch. It's not far, so he can do it in his socks, in his PJs, whatever. Outside he goes, and what happens? The door slams shut behind him, because of course it does. He realizes he hasn't been locked out, so he proceeds to reach for the wind chimes, but is startled by a sound in the bushes. He recovers quickly. He's a grown-ass man. There have been possums running around the roof all night. It's not that serious. It's probably an animal. So, sufficiently ashamed...
isn't it always?
You're right. It's definitely just a possum.
Isn't it always an animal? Isn't it always? Like, it's like the dad in a horror movie. You're just seeing things. You were in a new house. There's creaks and groans. I'm like, it's the creaks and groans of the spirit with the chains in your house. Like, fuck off. Like...
So Tom is like sufficiently ashamed of how spooked he is, so he snaps a photo with his phone of the murder cabin that he's staying in to send to his friends, going, ha ha, but after he takes the picture, he sees a flash. He was pretty sure that he had the flash off, but he goes in and adjusts the settings anyway and takes another photo, and after he takes that second photo, there's a flash.
Yeah.
But then there's that sound again from the bushes, but this time it's heavier. It's like footsteps.
Ugh.
And then there's another flash off the wall of the cabin, and Tom figures he must have left the flashlight on his phone or something, somehow managed to shine this light into his own face. But then he hears his brain screaming at him, frantically trying to stop him from telling himself everything is fine, because there's someone standing in the trees. Just a few feet away in the darkness, Tom can't see their face because they're wearing a headlamp.
Yeah. And so it's flashing at him every time he tries to take a fucking picture.
Yep. So Tom books it. He's slipping in his socks, darting up the stairs onto the porch and into the house. He drops the wind chimes outside as he's fumbling with the doorknob. Once inside, though, he manages to calm down because that was probably a jogger. You know, those fucking psychos are always out super early in the morning before the sun's even up, and they're probably like, what the fuck is this dude doing outside this murder cabin in his socks?
There was a fucking comedian who was like, that's when people find bodies. At like 6 in the fucking morning, you go jogging. That's when we find fucking bodies. You don't fucking go jogging in the fucking morning. That's fucking stupid.
And so Tom does what Tom's gonna do a bunch, and he keeps calming himself down. And then he hears the wind chimes again. The one that he knows he dropped on the ground outside. There could be more than one set of chimes, man. The cabin had a big front porch, so Tom continues to rationalize his fears away as he lays down to go back to bed. But, of course, as soon as he reaches the edge of sleep, bang! Something blows his door wide open, hard enough to literally break off the doorknob. Tom calls his wife, hoping that the sound of a familiar voice will remind him that what he's experiencing is just the paranoia brought on by solitude in a creaky old house. But the call drains the last of his cell phone's battery, and there's no way he's going outside to get the charger that's in his car. So he has no power to document it or to call for help when he starts hearing something much larger than a possum running across the roof.
It's like, at what point do you just like start suspending disbelief a little bit when you're like, it's just a really large possum. Like, at what point are you like, it's fucking demons? Like, at what point are you like, this is fucking something, this is a fucking haunted, creepy, you know what you signed up for, though, because you're like, well, like, creepy old house, you're going to write your novel, or whatever the fuck it is you're doing, like, in the middle of the woods, like, and you hear wind chimes, like, at a certain point you have to be like, this is a cliche, I signed up for this.
Absolutely, and I think there was an element of that in, if you, obviously I'm telling a storified version of this Twitter thread, he's very, like, self-aware about the situation in the Twitter thread, so, he does get a few hours of sleep despite whatever is running across the roof throughout the night, but then he is awoken very early in the morning with more banging. This time, it is somebody banging on the front door. And from the bedroom door at the back of the cabin, Tom can see a figure standing outside the front door through the glass window. So he calls out, "What?" And the man outside, he shifts uncomfortably before calling out, "Package." "Just leave it," Tom says. "I need you to sign for it." "I can't. Just leave it." "I can't just leave it." "Just leave it!" So the guy
It
does.
reminds me of the fucking stories of, like, the fucking police, like it's like an intruder, they knock, like, "Police," or whatever, and they, like, and the person, like, calls the cops and is like, "Did you send anyone out here?" And they're like, "No, we haven't sent anybody."
That's like the flip side of the coin of the calls are coming from inside the house, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Same energy, same pit in your stomach, like... So the guy does leave the package, and Tom is left to wonder just what would be getting delivered to like a vacant Airbnb cabin, but he brings it inside, which I think was a dummy move. The first of many.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Now, again, remember, Tom is documenting this essentially live on Twitter, and the story is already spreading, like it's being picked up by news outlets and shit. He shares a picture of the package sitting on top of the cabin's old wood-burning stove. Those following Tom's tweets are quick to point out the face in the stove. It's not some, like, terrifying demonic visage. It looks like a teddy bear.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So...
that's fucking teddy bear.
Yeah. The bear is not your friend.
Oh.
So Tom sees these people saying this, and he takes a picture from a different angle. He opens the stove. There is no teddy bear inside of the stove. He doesn't want to let any of this get to his head, like the way the Twitterverse is zooming and enhancing every photo he's shared so far, and the way that they're finding and sending him what appear to be faces in the windows.
We talked about this a little bit too in what was it? I can't remember what episode we talked about this, but like I think it might have been Cryptids, where you have whole teams of like internet people fucking sleuthing shit out.
Oh yeah.
And like it usually is to like debunk shit, but a lot of times with stuff like this and like with Dear David, it is also to fully like be like, did you not see this fucking creepy ass thing in your photograph?
Right, and then when it's
And
like
you're
happening
like,
to you in real time, and you're seeing people dissect this and send you shit when like you're still actively in the scenario, that can't be good for your mental health. Okay.
No.
So as night falls, night 2, Tom tours the rest of the cabin, and he makes an odd Tom tours the cabin. I can't talk. And makes a very odd discovery in what looks like a mostly unused room. There's a really old TV in there, like one that has like knobs still. It gets no channels, it just gets static, and in front of it, kind of turned to the side, there's a very small chair, like one intended for a child's. This feels like a nope scenario for Tom, so he nopes back to the bedroom, which would be great if it weren't for the return of the thunderous bangs of whatever was running across the roof.
You know what we're learning in today's episode of Spooky Sundays? I clearly need to just fucking get rid of this chair.
What you doing?
Clearly, chairs are not a good idea. It's always fucking chairs. It's always fucking chairs,
We got a
man.
green chair, we got a children's chair. I don't know what's up with horrifying chairs, but
Any old chairs, I'm like, I was talking to my roommates, I'm like, we have to get rid of that. And they're like, why? I'm like, because there's probably some ghost child that like has taken residence in it, and I don't trust it.
So Tom's kind of annoyed now because he can't sleep. He's in this fucking murder cabin. There's shit running across the roof. So he goes full white guy in a horror movie and says, I'm going to antagonize the murder cabin. I have some more writing to do. I can get some more pages done tonight. I'm going to go utilize that cute little kid's chair and sit in it with my laptop and do my writing there. What kind of... Okay, alright, it's shit I would do. It's what's
his face from Unsolved Mysteries, which is literally you as a human being.
It's shit
Shane.
I would do.
Is it Shane or is it
from BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah, BuzzFeed Unsolved. Sorry, yeah.
I'm definitely more of a Shane than a Ryan, but I do have a healthy respect for the paranormal. I do. More than Shane
this guy's going full fucking Shane. He's like, let's sit in the dead chair and
Shane's pissed.
Fucking teddy bear and...
The thing is, though, guys, the chair is not where he left it. It's now facing the TV, and the TV is on, and that mysterious package that he got earlier is sitting on the chair.
Is it a
So
VHS?
no more writing tonight. No more writing tonight. It is bedtime.
Is it a VHS or some shit? I don't remember what's in the
It
package.
has VHS energy. Yeah.
It's like, what's in the box? Or he's like, it's gonna be like the TV's on with a VHS player, and he's gonna open the package. It's gonna be a fucking VHS. He's gonna fucking watch. It's gonna be him sleeping or some shit. I don't remember this story. I'm probably wrong, but like that would scare the shit out of me. So
Don't you worry, we're gonna find out.
that's the cliche. That's what it feels like it's going.
Tom ends up spending another restless night in bed, being awoken sporadically by more footsteps darting across the roof over his head. And he does include videos of this. I don't know what the legalities would be of us splicing one in, but there are videos of the sounds, and they're not awesome.
It ain't
Not
Santa.
fun.
It ain't Santa and his reindeer. That's for goddamn sure.
So the next day, and again, this is daylight, brings the return of the wind chime sounds from outside, tinkling in the absolute lack of breeze. What's worse, Tom had fully brought the offending wind chimes inside. He was
And
looking
realized
right
there were
at them.
no other ones. And realized there were no other ones in this large house, apparently.
He did not see any. Yeah, he was pretty sure he had the only thing of wind chimes sitting on top of a dollhouse, an old wooden dollhouse, inside the house. Tom looks out the back window and notices that the old swing set in the yard is swinging. It's being used by some invisible presence because that's the only way to explain it, because there is no fucking wind.
Was that Conjuring 1 or 2 that fucking happens in? There was one of them where like the swing
one.
started swinging on its own and shit.
Yeah, it's the first one because that's got the witch tree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so of course he shares a photo with Twitter of the aforementioned wind chimes on top of the aforementioned dollhouse. Also pictured on top of the dollhouse is that package again in yet another location. What Twitter has to point out to Tom, though, is the tiny glow emanating from outside the window in the background. The glow is illuminating a small teddy bear, just like the one everyone swears they saw inside the wood stove.
Oh. No.
Tom doesn't have any time to freak out. He's got no chance to investigate because somebody is here, standing on the porch, and the door is unlocked. The man claims that he is here to fix the phone line and that it is urgent. Tom is certain that the cabin has no phone. He explains to the man at the door that he's in the middle of some important work, but the guy says he has to come in now because there's no way they were going to get anybody else to come all the way out here, right? So Tom lets him in. And where does the man go? Where does the man go? He goes straight to the old receptionless TV. The man fiddles with some wires and he leaves. There was definitely no phone.
Which you could, like, at that point you're like, is it ghost or is it, like, cult? Like, creepy people come into the house. Are they all in on it? Like, is something like moving the bear around and make him go crazy so they can join? It's like full on Midsummer up in this bitch.
I have bad news. You're not really going to get a solid answer. Because I agree with you. It does start to feel like it's more people than paranormal, but that's about to flip. As night once again falls, we're on night 3 now. The wind chimes are as loud as they ever were before outside, but there are still no chimes outside. Tom realizes with a little bit of horror that the sound seems to be coming from underneath the house. And he absolutely refuses Twitter's pleas to investigate. He survives.
Smart man.
Right, it's like the first smart thing he's done all night. So he survives yet another night in the cabin with the same noises, the hell beast running across the roof, the constant clanging of the fucking infernal wind chimes, and the sleep deprivation is not helping the situation at all. Tom wants to leave. Fuck the script. Fuck this little writer's retreat. He wants out. But that's obviously not an option. Why? Because there's a storm coming through. And the roads around the cabin are known to flood out when it rains really heavily because they're so close to the water.
There was fucking one in Dear David, too. Like, when he had, like, a dream that a storm was coming and a feeling and then, like, oh, a thunderstorm approaching. So that's always a bad fucking sign. That's always a bad fucking sign. Storms and chairs.
Shit. So as he's updating Twitter, he decides to share with them a piece of art that is hanging in the living room. It looks like it's the living room anyway. It's a really nice, like, detailed drawing. It looks like it's like a charcoal drawing kind of a tree. And it looks like the giant tree that's in the yard behind the cabin. but the like very detailed nature of the drawing kind of draws his attention to this thing drawn in the background behind the tree. There's a cabin drawn behind the tree, but it's just a red outline. It doesn't have any of the shading, any of the detail that the rest of the drawing has, almost like it's a ghost.
Or someone else like drew it over it or some shit.
It kind of looks like that.
After it was done. Oh, I hate it.
And of course, Twitter dissects this image as well, and we discover that there's no less than 3 of what appear to be little girls hidden throughout the painting. They're laying on the big boughs high up in the tree. They're sneaking a peek at the viewer around the trunk. It's interesting. And when the storm knocks the cabin's power out, as of course it was going to, Tom is frantically searching for a light source so he doesn't burn his phone battery out so he can keep documenting. But something else in that artwork happens to catch his eye. In the bottom corner, in the same style as the drawing, are the words, "Third drawer down."
I was gonna like a teddy bear or some shit. I was like, that's full circle. I hate full circle moments and shit like this.
Less, but also more scary, he goes to the 3rd drawer down in the kitchen and finds a battery-powered lantern. A very modern battery-powered lantern, the directions to which seem to be put on a very old-looking piece of art. So that's odd.
And then you harken back to the fucking dude with the headlamp at the beginning, like flashing and shit.
Yeah, shit! I didn't even think of that!
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm fucking like, full circle moments and shit like this. Like, I love full circle. Like, I had to do an interview thing for this guy that I did a poster for. I love that full circle moment. Finding a headlamp after a dude flashed it at you and finding, like, directions to it on a painting. Not so much fun of a full circle moment. Fam, thanks.
So, the finding of this lantern is good news for everybody watching it on Twitter at the time and for us now, because it allows Tom to fulfill the promise that he made and provides the illumination to film as he finally opens the mysterious package he received on day 1. In the video, you can hear his like breath shuddering. You can see the way his hands are shaking as he unwraps like the outer plastic protective packaging, and inside, between that and the box, there is a handwritten note.
Oh.
So he pulls out the note, and it says, "Thank you for booking our beloved cabin. While we no longer use it, this house holds many happy memories for us. In particular, it was a wonderful place for our daughter to play. If you see her, please give her..." The note continues on the back, but Tom doesn't flip it over. Their daughter, if you see her, Tom opens the box, seemingly already knowing that inside he will find a teddy bear.
Of course it's the teddy
bear. The one he's been seeing for several days now.
I would have been scary if it just said, "Thank you" on it, and just nothing else.
And nothing else.
Oh! Like, you finally opened the package. Thank you. Like, what happens now? Like, fuck, man.
There it is, this bear that seems to have been stalking him throughout this cabin this entire time. He pulls it out of the box. And that's it for Tom, everybody. That is his line. His next tweet literally shows him in his car speeding away from the cabin. He gets up to the main road only to discover that he doesn't have enough gas to get anywhere. So he has no choice. He has to go back to the cabin. He documents in small clips that he's placed the teddy bear, note, packaging, box, everything all outside on the porch, but that's not fucking good enough. He can feel it outside. He can just sense it outside the front door. So he shows himself walking out into the yard, dropping the bear by the tree farther away from the house. It's on the back porch when he returns.
That's when you're like, "Hello, bear. Time to die."
And Twitter is also quick to point out that in the video, as he returns to the cabin from dropping the bear by the tree, you can see the bear.
Oh.
It's like in the bushes as he's walking back.
It's a very Annabelle moment where he's like, it's not the doll, it's something
Annabelle
controlling
moment.
the doll, something is moving the doll. It feels like that.
That one for me was the scariest part. Like, that's the scariest still image I pulled from it, literally, because it's like you watch this video of him walking out, putting something down and walking back, and then you see this image of like a screenshot from it where his camera like panned over some bushes, and in the middle of the bushes is just that fucking bear's face. So it just like ran right back with it. Fucking A. Like
It's fucking. It did a slow jog, Baywatch style, like back to the bushes, and then just. And
so finally, he walks the bear out all the way to the ocean, and we watch as the box with the bear in it floats out to sea with the waves.
And then let me guess.
Back at the cabin.
And let me guess. They find it back in the house.
Well, back at the cabin, Tom is absolutely beside himself when he discovers a giant pool of water on the front porch. And in the middle of this pool of water is the fucking bear.
No, bitch, no. Fuck that noise, no.
So at this point, Tom realizes that he is not stronger than this teddy bear. He is not stronger than the pull it feels to this little girl's spirit within the cabin walls. So he stops fighting it. He places the teddy bear lovingly in the tiny chair and flips on the TV. He leaves it there to watch the static all night by itself. Or not. There were no reports from Tom that night of any banging. Nothing horrible running across the roof. No chimes. Absolutely nothing. So in the early morning before he left, he took the teddy bear outside and placed it into the tandem swing on the swing set, gave it a little push, and left them there to play together.
Yes.
And that is Tom Taylor's weekend retreat in a murder cabin.
Oh my god. Well, you don't know how the daughter died. Like, you don't know anything. Like, it's like, I hate it. But then how do you get gas to, like, leave again?
That was also my question. I mean, listen, I think the Dear David one, a lot of people say Dear David is fake, and Dear David is probably completely fake.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
This one, I feel like it was very well done. Like, this guy did a great job, but let's keep his resume in mind.
There's some, like, holes. There's some holes.
He's a very creative guy. Yeah. He writes movie scripts.
Right.
He knows how to make something compelling. I think it was a really nice story. I think if you like to think of it as something kind of sweet, then it is. But it's also when you're sitting by yourself watching these videos with your headphones on and you're just hearing stuff banging across the roof, you're like, there's nothing good about what's happening.
It makes you wonder too, like, how it starts in terms of, like, maybe something spooky did fucking happen, and then they kind of like, I could fucking milk this for everything it's got, and like create something.
Oh yeah,
out of
totally.
This. So it makes you like wonder, like, are certain parts of it legit, and other parts are like exaggerated for the sake of the story. Like, I don't think Adam Ellis got possessed at the end of Dear David.
Well, we can hope.
Try breaking the fingers with all the fridge horror shit, like cursing everybody. I wouldn't be fucking surprised. I was like, I should look up that fucking. Because her name is not. What did I say it was? It's the one wearing a dark dress. Oh, it'll bring a ghost to your front door. I said there's something nurse legs, like
Oh fuck!
Ramona Nurse Legs or something like that. That's great.
Ramona Nurse Legs. Yeah, that sounds right.
Ramona Nurse Legs. That's not actually her name. It's like, oh, and then she chases him down a hall and shit. I just want to know her name. Viola Bloom. Viola Bloom. Same diff. Ramona Nurse Legs, Viola Bloom, it's fine. But yeah, so that was our ghost stories for you today.
My spine is tingling.
So yeah, we are in the process of editing some new episodes for y'all. We don't have a timeline, because editing is hard, and we have learned that our sense of humor has very beautiful, specific overlap. And when we're editing together, which is what we're doing now to kind of make it easier on me, we are learning about that overlap and trying to make the best content that we can for y'all. So we're very excited.
We have an alarming amount of content. We have
3 episodes.
A bunch of
now,
episodes. Yeah. And so we are really looking forward to bringing those out, but we are going to do them on our fucking time.
We're taking our time.
And if you don't like it, get the fuck out!
And if you didn't like Spice World, you didn't get Spice World.
And that's the tea.
That's the tea. I just rewatched it again recently.
Thank you guys so much.
And I told them, I was like, my friend Kat has it memorized for a bit, like word for word, the entire movie.
I truly do.
I was like, I'm not quite there yet.
I have Spice World
But I will.
memorized. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you have a really wonderful Halloween. I hope you enjoyed our ghost stories and encourage you to go seek out some other creepy shit. for when you get home from your Halloween trick-or-treating.
And if people ask you on Twitter to investigate anything in the creepy cabin you're staying in, don't do it.
You're stronger than Twitter.
Yeah, don't listen to Twitter. They don't care. They don't care about you. They're just there for the they're there for the content. They don't give a shit about you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Happy Halloween.